Welcome to Shelf Help, a channel dedicated to talking to the void about whatever book I happen to be reading. I'm your host, the reader. The following review will contain spoilers. I had to think for a bit how I wanted to approach this series. It is in 3 parts, written in reverse order. The first book published was the Riyria Revelations Book 1, Theft of Swords. The Crown Tower is the first book from the Riyria Chronicles, which is the prequel to Revelations. Chronicles is also still being written, with the 4th book coming out recently. Then there is Legends of the First Empire, which goes all the way back and doesn't involve any of the same characters, so I will reserve that one for last. So since Chronicles and Revelations involve the same characters, and the former informs the latter, I decided to start from the point of meeting. The first character we meet is Hadrian Blackwater. Fresh off the boat from the southern continent of Khalea, this is his first time back in Averin in several years. Immediately he finds himself confronted by a press gang shanghaiing a young boy. Hadrian left home at 14 to be a soldier, and has been gone for 5 years, making him about 19 or 20. He's big and wears 3 swords. The press gang is made of 4 adult men armed with clubs. Hadrian beats them handily without drawing a sword. This is a great introduction to Hadrian. He is a hero in the style of Superman. Big, strong, and kind of a Boy Scout. He has a very strong sense of right and wrong, and though a supremely skilled fighter, he is reluctant to kill anyone unless he feels they truly deserve it. This worldview has come about after years of being an unstoppable super soldier. His father trained him in very specialized combat from an early age, and like any young boy, Hadrian had dreams of grandeur. But his father's plans were only for him to be a blacksmith and teach those same skills to his own son one day. This, along with a fight with his best friend that ended in the other boy's death, caused Hadrian to leave home. After years hopscotching across the continent as a soldier in every army, he finds himself in the arena of Khalea, using his skills to kill for the entertainment of others. This is where the letter of his father's death finds him and what has brought him home. Well, not home. He's not going back to his little village, but instead to a university in the north to visit a friend of his father's to retrieve his inheritance. He catches a barge going upriver that he shares with a trio of jewelry merchants, a woman fleeing after the murder of her husband, and a man in a dark cloak who stands at the bow of the boat and speaks to no one. One night, after a tense ride, with the other passengers casting suspicion on the cloaked man, everyone but Hadrian ends up dead, and the cloaked man is gone without a trace. Hadrian goes to the city of Colnora and brings the sheriff. But when they return, the boat is gone, and the boat office claims no barge was expected. The sheriff tells him he does not appreciate pretending there was a duster incident. Hadrian is left feeling confused and questioning his sanity. The next character we meet is Gwen, short for Gwendolyn. Despite being born in Khalea, she lives in Medford, a town almost as far north as she can go. And Gwendolyn is an Averin name, not Khalean. So how'd she get so far from home? Because her mother was told to take her to Medford by the god who walks. We're going to stick a pin in that for a couple of books. Her mother does not make it all the way to Medford, however. Gwen ends up spending all the money they had trying to treat her after she becomes ill. Just after her mother's death, a man enters the room. He gives Gwen 6 gold coins he claims to have owed her mother. He tells her to use 1 for her mother's funeral, 1 to get the rest of the way to Medford, and to save the rest until she absolutely needs it. He also tells her a man will come to her in the night, dressed in his own blood. She must help him. In Medford, she finds herself a stranger in a strange land, and only one place will give her work. A tavern on Wayward Street, slums of the slums, the Hideous Head. She's been there for years, hiding her 4 gold coins and waiting for the man dressed in his own blood. The tavern owner, Raynar Guru, lets one of the girls be killed by a client. When he allows the client back in, even after he threatens to kill more of the girls, Gwen has had enough. She grabs the coins and the girls, and they walk out. She uses the money to buy a broken-down inn across the street and with the earnings they make plying their trade, they turn it into a respectable brothel. Medford House. Back with Hadrian, he reaches the university and meets Professor Ardinius, his father's friend and possible wizard. Ardinius gives him a medallion and a message, to wear it always, never sell it, and pass it on to his son should he have one. The amulet is another thing we have to put a pin in. Hadrian also meets the man in the black cloak, Royce. The meeting's a little tense. Royce is Hadrian's dark reflection. Orphaned at a young age, he was raised by wolves. Figuratively. Sorta. He makes his living as a thief, and tends to take the stance, kill them all and let the gods sort it out. Arcadius bought Royce's freedom after he'd been in prison for a crime he did not commit. Arcadius wants them to team up and steal a book. The book is located in the titular Crown Tower, home of the Patriarch of the Church of Nephron. Another pin here. I know, that's a lot of pins, but this is the first in a series. I promise I'll get back to all of them as they become important. In Arcadius's view, they need each other. Royce needs someone he can trust, a friend who will always have his back. Hadrian needs someone streetwise. Not surprisingly, Hadrian and Royce don't get along. Despite Royce's explanation that the people on the boat plan to kill him, Hadrian isn't convinced Royce is anything but an arrogant monster. Royce, in turn, thinks Hadrian is stupid and lets him know it loudly and often. Their first trip to the tower doesn't go well. Royce ditches Hadrian, quite possibly to die for a crime Royce committed, climbs the tower, steals the book, and is back at the university before Hadrian even thinks to head back. But Arcadius insists they put the book back together. No exceptions. It goes badly. At the top of the tower, Hadrian, being the non-sneaky of the two, wakes a priest who screams before Royce can slit his throat. The guards are alerted. Being a single circular tower, there are only two ways back to their escape rope. Right and left. Hadrian goes one way, Royce goes the other. Hadrian makes it to the rope, Royce does not. This is the moment of decision. Royce and Hadrian hate each other. At this point, they've threatened to murder each other several times. With the book returned, their enforced partnership is over. Hadrian could go down that rope and get away scot-free. But that's not who Hadrian is. Hadrian single-handedly kills almost a dozen guards, including 2 elite Syrian knights, but in the process, they are both wounded. Hadrian is stabbed in the leg, and Royce has his stomach slit open. Hadrian gets them down the tower and out of town, and treats Royce's wounds, and they ultimately have to take refuge in a farmhouse. During their fight to escape, Hadrian is shot in the back with an arrow, and Royce has his leg broken. They are loaded into a cart that arrives just in time, and when Royce wakes, he finds them outside of Medford House, covered in their own blood. And he calls for help, not for himself, but for Hadrian. I summarized this book a little more than I usually do, but I have read the series, and I know there's a lot here that is important to the future of the story. That said, it is a simple story, and essentially an extended character introduction. There are no twists or any big surprises. Now, I said in my review of the Chronicle of the Necromancer that I want to be told new stories. On the surface, all of these characters fit neatly into their tropes. Royce is the thief, brooding, grumpy, just kill 'em all and get it over with. We don't need any witnesses. Hadrian is a classic hero, honest, brave, and committed to doing the right thing, even if it's inconvenient. Gwyn is the hooker with a heart of gold. The difference is execution. In Chronicles of the Necromancer, there was one overpowered hero and the supporting cast. Only Triss was fleshed out, and the other characters were defined by their relationship to him. The barb, whose name escapes me, was there because high fantasy stories have barbs. He could have been struck from the story entirely, and nothing would have been lost. But in the Crown Tower, each of these characters, Royce, Hadrian, and Gwyn, are the main characters of their own story. Each can stand independently of the other, even though their stories are intertwined. I'm going to put this one on my second shelf. I love this series, but like I said, this book is largely an extended character introduction. Just because I know where this one's going doesn't mean I get to give it a pass on the lighter story. Thank you for your time. I know everyone's mileage will vary, so feel free to leave your thoughts.